An oil fund on a crypto network. Sounds crazy, right? Well, that's exactly what I thought, until I dug deeper and I found something even bigger unfolding behind the scenes. So I'm pretty deep into crypto on a daily basis, but this story took me a bit by surprise. It's not every day that you see the old school oil industry colliding with blockchain technology. So I started reading about it and realized that Hedera hashgraph of all of the networks is quietly powering a first of its kind oil and gas investment fund. And by the end of this video, you're going to see why something as traditional, and let's face it, boring, as an oil fund might actually signal a massive shift for crypto's future. So if you're like me and love staying ahead of the curve, you're going to want to stick around. And hey, maybe even join our free educational Discord server. The link is in the description. It's where we geek out about all of these kind of discoveries together. Okay, so quick transparency. I do have a few affiliate links in the description down below for a couple of exchanges that I personally use. Things like Blowfin and BitGet. Now, if you do use those links, i.e. sign up and trade through them, then it does support the channel here at no extra cost to you. There's no pressure, of course, but I really do appreciate it. All right, let's get back to the story. Now, this journey began when I caught wind of a headline that honestly sounded a bit like a typo. An upstream oil and gas fund on the Hedera blockchain. Now, my first reaction was, is somebody mixing up some buzzwords here? Or is this for real? So I had to find out. So I dug in, and it turns out that it's 100% legit. A company called Zonex, probably murdering that anyway, that teamed up with One World Petroleum, or OWP, to launch what they claim is the first ever tokenized oil and gas fund on Hedera. So, in plain English, they took a classic oil investment fund and turned it into a crypto token on the Hedera network. So, how does that even work? Well, basically, the fund's assets, think of the oil field projects and the loan financing them, right, are actually converted into security tokens on the blockchain. They're using Zonex's platform to manage the whole token lifecycle, and they made sure that everything is done by the book, complying with the SEC regulations from day one. So if you invest in this fund, you don't get some paper certificate or a monthly statement. You're going to get a digital token in your wallet that represents your ownership stake. And that token isn't just a static thing either. It's actually programmed to automatically handle compliance rules and verify investors as needed. It's, I guess, like the bureaucracy of investing, ownership records, investor accreditation, all of that. It got baked into the token itself. The coolest part, that this setup could actually open up oil investments to a whole lot more people than before. In their own words, it's enabling energy investing for a larger audience, democratizing oil investment while preserving institutional protections. In other words, you and I, assuming that we meet the requirements, could potentially get a piece of an oil fund that used to be something only big banks or oil tycoons could actually access, all while still following the same rules that keep things above board for large investors. So that idea really hit me. Right? Crypto is not just about meme coins, right? It's actually seeping into the real economy in tangible ways. Now, why do this on Hedera specifically? Well, Hedera isn't as hyped as maybe Ethereum or Solana in the news, but it has some pretty cool features that make it attractive for projects just like this. For one, it's fast and has super low fees, which is important if you're dealing with potentially lots of transactions. Now, it's also carbon neutral and highly transparent, right? I had to chuckle at the irony there, right? An oil fund running on a carbon neutral network, right? Irony 101. But hey, right, if you're trying to appeal to an economically conscious investors, then using a green blockchain is probably a smart plus, right? Anyway, Hedera's public ledger, it also means that every transaction or change in the fund is recorded immutably, a fancy way of basically saying it's unchangeable on chain. Right? No one can go back and secretly alter the records. Now, as an investor, that gives a kind of new level of trust. You can verify that the fund isn't doing anything fishy with your money because the blockchain records all of the output or out and in the open, right? Now, the team behind this fund even said outright that this project proves real-world assets can be brought on-chain with compliance and institutional scale in mind. It's a pretty bold statement, but seeing it in action actually gives it credibility. Now, this development honestly feels like a milestone, right? It's bridging a very old school industry, think pipelines and oil rigs, with cutting edge blockchain technology. Now, I never thought that I would see the day where those two worlds would meet in the middle, right? By using a decentralized platform, the fund makes transactions secure and transparent for investors, which could increase the overall confidence in an industry that's often maybe considered a bit, I should say, opaque, right? It's kind of like the best of both worlds then, right? The accessibility and transparency of cryptocurrency, and crypto technology, combined with the stability and regulations of traditional finance. Now, as someone who's kind of been in crypto for a while, this kind of real-world crossover is both a bit bizarre and exciting to see. And here is where it gets even more interesting. It's not just one fund or a couple of crypto startups recognizing Hedera's potential. Big players are stepping in. In a separate bit of news that dropped around the same time, you saw Arrow Electronics, yes, the $28 billion technology company, joined the Hedera Governing Council. Now that blew my mind because Arrow is a Fortune 500 company, and you don't usually see those jumping onto a crypto project's governance just for fun. Now, Arrow didn't stop just at a council seat. They also announced that they're integrating HBAR, this is Hedera's token, into their operations to help optimize their supply chains and connect global suppliers on-chain. Think about that. A huge corporation is using crypto technology to track how products move through its supply chain. Now, this is the kind of real-world application that blockchain enthusiasts have been shouting about for years. And now it's actually happening with a household name company. And it's not... If that's not a sign, I should say, of broader adoption, then I just simply don't know what is. It signals that Hedera's tech is mature enough for enterprise use, not just crypto experiments. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Okay, a tokenized oil fund, a big tech company's on board. But is there really much activity on Hedera's network? And you've got some fair question there, right? Because it turns out, as I dug some data on the stablecoin usage on Hedera, it's actually pretty telling. Now, according to DeFi Llama, the total stablecoin supply on Hedera spiked to about $224 million in August, and then dropped back to $81 million. So that's a huge swing, right? Volatile as it is, a spike like that usually means a wave of new users or new money tested the waters on Hedera and then some left. So, which could be due to short-term experiments or incentives. Now, what's really interesting is that this was driven mostly by USDC, which dominates Hedera's stablecoin market. So even after the pullback, the general trend was, at least over the few years, seems to be pretty upwards. More activity and more adoption, which indicates growing confidence in Hedera's utility, right? Now, I even saw reports that the amount of USDC on Hedera has been steadily growing as more companies and devs become aware of Hedera's unique capabilities. In simple terms, people are actually using this network, not just talking about it. And for those wondering about HBAR, the Hedera coin, all of this news might actually be having an effect there too. Now, at the moment, HBAR's price is around 20-something cents, and some analysts note that the chart is showing a tightening pattern that could break out if HBAR pushes past 25 cents. Now, Whether that actually happens is anyone's guess. Crypto markets are a little bit crazy. But it's interesting to see the technicals lining up with the fundamentals here. Increased real-world adoption often kind of creates speculation that a coin's value will catch up to its newfound utility. Now, before anyone watching starts thinking that this is my cue to tell you, go all in on HBAR or something crazy, no, that's not what I'm here for. In fact, let me drop a quick reality check right here, because this might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies, they are highly volatile, and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Alright, we had to say that, because it's true. Always stay safe and skeptical in crypto. Now, let's switch gears for a minute, because I want to share another cool thing that crossed my radar recently. Unity. Now, it's not directly related to Hedera, but it does fit our theme of bridging crypto with real world in surprising ways. Now, Unity Masternodes basically lets you turn your old phones, or a bunch of new phones, into a part of a global network, and you get to earn crypto for doing some pretty unusual things, verifying the telecoms network. No, really, right? Hear me out. You install the Unity app on your smartphone, and it will basically make little verification calls within the mobile network to check if the cell towers and connections are working properly. And in return for letting it do that, you'll actually earn some crypto rewards. And get this, you can choose what to be paid in: Bitcoin, Ethereum, ADA, XRP, and others, maybe even Hedera's HBAR. So it's kind of like crypto mining, except instead of your phone crunching math problems, it's simply just checking cell signal and contributing to a decentralized telecoms infrastructure. Who would have thought that you could mine crypto by basically making phone calls? Pretty crazy, right? Now, I keep seeing chatter about Unity in my crypto circles, and it did pique my interest and my curiosity enough that I decided to jump in. I actually did purchase a Unity Masternode myself, which came with 200 licenses. Now, it was not necessarily cheap, but I'm curious to test out what or at least when their app actually goes live, what this can do. Essentially, I'm going to be turning these phones I bought here into a little mini cell network testing rig, if you will, that earns me crypto. Now, I want to see with my own eyes if this does work out as advertised. Now, to be clear, I'm not telling anyone to go out and buy this thing right away. This is not a sponsored segment or anything like that. I have, no interest in that kind of stuff, right? But what I do want to tell you is that I just found the concept very fascinating. As a nerd who loves seeing, how crypto can attract and attach itself to pretty much anything. Now, if you are interested, you got to definitely do your own research first, right? I've put the Unity Nodes website link in the description down below. They do have a rewards calculator on there too, which I've been playing with to estimate the potential earning rewards from this experiment. So if you want to check it out, if you're curious, but as always, only invest time and money if it makes sense to you. Now, the reason that I brought up Unity is because it actually beautifully illustrates this much bigger picture. Crypto is expanding in all different directions. On one end of the spectrum, you have this multi-million-dollar oil fund that's being tokenized for big investors on Hedera. And on the other end, we have everyday people like us potentially running these mobile phone nodes and earning crypto for helping out a telecoms network. That is pretty wild, right? It's kind of like the whole range from institutional finance all the way through to the grassroots everyday tech is getting maybe even touched by this blockchain tech, right? The walls between the crypto world and the real world are starting to blur. So, stepping back for just a moment, what is the takeaway from all of this? Well, for me, it's that crypto is quietly but surely growing up and finding ways into the real economy, right? We're seeing tangible examples of blockchain technology being used to solve real problems or improve established systems, right? When a kind of petroleum fund chooses to modernize itself via Hedera, or a giant like Arrow Electronics uses a crypto network to streamline its supply chains, well, it's a signal that the technology isn't just a kind of plaything for developers anymore. It's actually becoming a tool for absolutely everyone. And when new projects like Unity lets anyone with a smartphone contribute and earn, it shows how inclusive and far-reaching this revolution is becoming. Honestly, right, a few years ago, if you had told me that oil companies and telecom firms would be embracing cryptocurrency, then I would probably have just laughed. Back then, crypto kind of felt very insular, right? Mostly about trading tokens on exchanges and speculative hype. But now we're actually watching it break out into the real world. And as someone who's been in crypto trenches for quite a while, it's incredibly validating to see these use cases popping up. It feels like we're at the start of something much bigger. Crypto is not just about coins mooning, it's actually about real world impact and adoption creeping in bit by bit. Now, it does make me wonder, are we finally seeing crypto go mainstream in a meaningful way? Or will all of these just be isolated experiments that will fizzle out in the future? Now, I'm optimistic, but I'm also curious what you all think. Let me know in the comments below. Is this the beginning of a new era for crypto? Or is it just another blip on the radar? So for now, guys, you can smash a like button, hit subscribe if you want to join me for more of these crypto adventures in the future. And I will see you all in the next one.